Hi, and welcome to episode. I don't even know what episode is it. I think it's episode 6. I need to pay attention to the opener. And this is a family affair tonight. This is our topic tonight is actually affected Lisa, and she does things in Indianapolis, so she fits the bill. So I thought, well, we take advantage of that. Tonight we're going to talk about Newfields, and this has been for sort of an interesting little ride here because, well, we're just going to get into it. So, Lisa, welcome to Do Something Indie. You are at the Mars Hill Art Center, and I'm at the Chateau de Mars Hill Studio. So we're not really together. So it's just like a real show, right?
We're 6 blocks apart.
Yeah. So yeah, 6 blocks. That's all. So tell me a little bit about. Give me some background on how you got involved with Newfields and what happened there.
Well, so first of all, I own a floral design business and I'm in year 4 of that. And one of my brides this year recommended that I apply for a new exhibit that was going to happen at Newfields. And it's called Art in Bloom. And if you're on social media, you can put in hashtag Art in Bloom and you'll see a lot of other museums across the country that do these types of exhibits. So the gist of it is that it's a short run, usually like 4 or 5 days. And the museum does a shout out to all of the floral designers in the area to apply to be a part of this exhibit. And then if you get accepted, you install your work next to another piece of art in the museum that you're assigned to, and then your floral design is on display for the run of the show. So Art in Bloom in Indianapolis is now going to be April 29th through May 2nd. It was originally supposed to be this past weekend. And the way that the design works is that each artist or floral designer is assigned to a specific piece of art. So you are challenged with mimicking, mirroring, complementing, or interpreting that piece of art in flowers. And then your floral design is on a pedestal next to that piece of art for the run of the show. And I applied, and I just, seriously, it was like one of those lifetime achievement kind of things, like bucket list kind of things. I did not think I would get in. I really did not think I would get in. And I remember the day I got the email, and I let John, I called you, I called my mom, I called everybody. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got in. I just could not believe I got in. And so I was in the process of planning all of that when the Newfield news came out here in Indianapolis. So John, do you want to stop me there? Do you want me to keep going?
No, let's stop there and just sort of summarize this. So you were selected, and I think I remember you said, "Oh, you get a little stipend to go with this too." So
Yeah,
you're like, "Wow,
just
I'm
a
like
little
really
bit.
big time." Yeah,
Yeah.
enough to make it neat. So you had your picture. You were already doing all your designing, and then let's take it from there. What happened?
Yeah, so if you're in Indianapolis and you don't know about the news of Newfield's Indianapolis Museum of Art, then you're probably not paying attention to any media at all. It's made huge news. But I also want to back up a little bit. Before I started my floral design business, I've been in human resources in Indianapolis for 25 years. I was an HR executive before we opened this art center, before I started my floral design business. So I have just a little bit of experience in the HR field. They had posted a position for a new director position at the museum. And I believe they posted it even back in November. So it was before the end of last year. And from what I understand, some of the staff had expressed concern about some of the verbiage in the job description. The then CEO defended the verbiage, saying it is what it is and we need to state this thing. But a lot of people criticized that verbiage, and then someone in national media got a hold of the job description and it just went viral, as it should have. So the statement in the job description And actually, so all of the bullet points leading up to this one statement talked about how they were going to focus on inclusion, diversity, not only of programming, but also of the artworks and also of, attracting patrons to the museum. And then there's this one statement that just totally negated all of it, because they said, we're going to do all of this while continuing to focus on our traditional core white audience. And that's what hit the news. So
one sentence did it. It was, and then it was on. So it took a delay of it happening, though. They put that out, and then how did somebody see it, or what brought it to spotlight?
I think it was a reporter who is now maybe in New York, who used to work for the Indy Star. And so she still followed Newfields and, followed a lot of Indianapolis things. And she called him out on it and shared the post publicly on social media. And it just ran like wildfire. And that news hit on a Friday. I literally had just gotten the notice that I was accepted into the Art in Bloom exhibit the previous Monday. So this was the same week. So I go from Monday, this high of like, oh my gosh, they really like me. I got in to Friday being, oh my word, you have got to be kidding me. And so all weekend, I stewed about it. I talked to you about it. I just prayed about it. I just felt so conflicted participating in an exhibit at a venue or at within an organization that carries so much prestige and it is such a pillar in our community, or was, I guess, that I just felt so icky. That's the only word that I've been able to use all this time about it, that it just made me feel icky. And so all weekend I thought, what do I do? What do I do? Do I need to back out? Am I going to continue? What do I want to do? And then on Monday, I saw a post from friends of mine who, I say friends, we're friends in the industry, floral design industry. And it's a mother-daughter, and they are a minority-owned business. And they backed out. And from what I could tell of all of the list of designers that were on the emails that we got, I don't know for sure, but I think they were the only minority-owned business out of 31 that was asked to participate. And so that just kind of confirmed my weekend thinking of, I don't want to do this. I can't imagine being there, setting up, being so excited about something, and then trying to promote it, knowing that they've made these choices that really affect so many people. And so I reached out to them and I said, hey, can we talk? I just want to kind of talk through this. And so we had a really great chat. And the one statement that she made to me that really sealed it for me was, Lisa, you guys started a nonprofit arts organization in an underserved community. How does this support what you're doing? And it's almost like, the choices they've made and the way that they've run their business really excludes you guys. And so I just kind of feel like participating in this goes against everything that you believe in. And I was like, yes, that's true. And so I made the decision to withdraw.
Yeah. And trust me, folks, I lived this. So there was back and forth and back. Oh, should I not? And, the whole time I already knew what you were going to do, because I knew once you came to that realization that this isn't really what we want to do. And just as you just said, it's, it doesn't really serve our neighborhood, but it is good for you as a designer. So I know it was a tough choice. And so while we're on that subject, you're on Instagram, your name of your company is Where Pigs Fly and Such. Now, why is it named that? Because we're going to do that right now.
You know how you said in our wedding vows that you promised to listen to my long stories? I'm not going to do that now.
Okay, good.
It's a long story. But suffice to say, it boils down to the fact that there's that saying, oh, when pigs fly, like that'll never happen. Well, where pigs fly implies that it will. You just have to have faith, and you have to have determination, and you can make your dreams come true. And so my first little shop endeavor was, 12 years ago, 13 years ago. And I called it Where Pigs Fly. Wasn't floral related. Because for me, that was a dream come true. And I flipped that negative saying of, oh, when pigs fly, like that'll never happen, into a positive. I'm a very positive person. I am the glass half full. And so for me, it was that positive vibe. And also, I have a pig valve in my heart flying 24/7. I'm going wee, wee, wee all the way home every day. And so it just kind of all came together in just that one statement. When I started my floral design business, I tried to name it something else, and it just didn't feel right. It just didn't fit. And so Where Pigs Fly is what it was. And people have said it's memorable and it's different. And so, yeah, so it's been good. It's who I am.
Oh, well, let me add to that. So this is just to give you the kind of idea of what I'm married to here. So we have a remodel in our house. And last spring there was bird nests in there. I had to take them out. So I took them out. I was hoping that the moms would come back and get them, but all of them died except one. And I thought, well, he's probably not going to be here tomorrow. So I come out the next day and I look and it's gone. And these are little sparrows. They're probably only a day or two old. Well, Lisa had gotten that little sparrow and was feeding it Pedialyte and dog food out of a toothpick and raised that bird up. And it is there in her studio. And what's the name of that little bird?
Piggy, because she flies.
Yeah, because pigs fly. I got you there. So, yeah, we were going to have she usually will have the bird out flying around because it'll fly around and land on her hand and fly back.
Yeah, if I had the door open, she would fly out and land in my hand right now. But I also have Scarlet here, the dog who's under the.
Yeah,
I didn't want any comment.
Yeah, we don't want to have a bird eaten live on Facebook. That's not good. We'll have the PETA people on us, and we'll be in the same boat as the art, the art place.
Yeah. So, hey, I want to answer Derek's question.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, we got chats here. Okay,
yeah.
Oh, does your husband support what you do? Oh boy.
Oh, that's really funny, Derek. I can blame my husband for all of my creative endeavors in the last 4 years. Yes, being married to someone who supports my dreams and believes in me and encourages me creatively, that had been stifled for a long time before. And so meeting John, who's also an artist, I've never considered myself an artist. And so he really has inspired that in me. So to answer your question, yes, I wouldn't be sitting here right now if it wasn't for his support and encouragement. So.
Yeah. And it's funny. I have a graphic design degree from Ball State, and yet Lisa designed the logo behind me here, this. And so when she says, oh, I don't consider myself an artist, I'm like, honey, please. I mean, so yeah. And I hear that a lot too about people that don't have a college degree or whatever. They sell themselves short on these things. And it's like, you know what? Just do something. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to think that. You just start doing it and you will get better. Just sort of like our shows. It was pretty rough the first time we started the shows. We weren't even on. We were trying to go live streaming, and I think we had 2 weeks where we didn't have even any shows. Yeah. So and now look at us go. We're just like zooming and this and that. It's just great. So let's get back to our topic. So we're at the downward spiral of this art disaster. So what's happened since?
Well, I had not heard anything from Newfields, and they had been pretty quiet on social media, and curiosity always gets the best of me. And so I sent an email to my contact and said, hey, are you guys still doing this? I haven't seen anything about it. And they emailed back and said, obviously we have a lot we need to fix and we have a lot going on, and you'll actually get an email today with our statement of future work to try to correct all of this. And so it was a really nice response. I mean, they didn't have to respond at all, but at the same time, as I read through all of the work that they have started doing, I also had a couple of staff members reach out to me who had seen my profile on LinkedIn and just said, I want to talk to you about your decision and how you came to that decision. Because not only did I say, I put out a little announcement or a little press release about my decision to withdraw, but in that I said that I'm going to be keeping my membership with the museum, but I'm withdrawing from the exhibit. And so the staff members wanted to know why I made that choice, and had a couple of great conversations. One was a pretty lengthy phone conversation with this woman who was trying to decide whether or not she was going to stay or try to help right this ship, as she said. And with my HR background, I explained to her how I lived through a lot of very similar situations. While they may not have been in the public eye, like this Newfields experience, because my organization was not, in the public eye like they are, the situations were still very much the same. And I lived for about 5 years as an HR executive trying to right a ship, from a cultural perspective, from a recruiting perspective, from a diversity perspective. And when you don't have support from the executive team and from the very top layer, it's very hard to make those changes and to get things moved forward. So after about 5 or 6 years, I made the choice to leave. And that was when we were opening this art center, and it just was good timing for me. So I was able to leave on good terms. But I can also see how some people just don't want to weather that storm and they want to step out. And so I told her, I said, for each person, it is different. You have to decide what is right for you. And my choice to withdraw from the exhibit, to me, was a way that I could do something, hence the show, that would make an impact. Because now, they've gone from 31 to 25 designers. How are they going to handle that? That's very publicly known within the organization that so-and-so and so-and-so withdrew from this exhibit. But withdrawing my membership from the museum, no one cares about that. Nobody's even going to realize it, so that to me wasn't doing something. But what it is doing is keeping me in the loop. I still get the emails. I still get the communications. As a patron, hopefully I can be a part of the process for change going forward. So great conversations with those couple of people. But back to the email from the gal on whether or not they were going to have Art in Bloom, it made them rethink that whole exhibit, because the exhibit itself, the choice of artists that their works were being chosen or focused on, were not as diverse as they needed to be. And so that caused them to kind of rethink all of that. And then they said, too, if you have any recommendations on diverse designers, we would also like to make our floral design group more diverse as well. And I know a couple of amazing minority-owned business floral designers, and I recommended them, and I know they've talked to them, and I don't know if those designers chose to participate or not. But that's another way that I could do something. And then because of all of this work that I was seeing, that and Alicia, I do want to answer your question too.
You're sort of answering it as you go.
So I kind of felt like getting back into it was the right thing to do if they wanted to have me back, because I could see that they were making good initial steps. Now, is it enough? No. They know that. The staff knows that. In fact, talking to one of my contacts with Art in Bloom, they know it's going to take years, like maybe even 5 to 10 years, to make significant, notable change. But if I jump back in when they are making some great initial steps, you know, everybody's a critic. I say they're making great initial steps. As a former HR executive, I know for them to pull all that out right now, initially to say, here's what we're doing right now in a matter of weeks. And they had to have been working on all this like night and day nonstop. And you know, I've been there, I've done it. And so kudos to them for at least getting what they've gotten out so far out. But I just kind of felt like I would be happy to step back in. It's still going to feel different. It's not going to feel like it would have initially. But I'm happy to step back in. So,
and if you want to go and see the list of items that Newfields is doing, there's a little link for you there, their statement. And it, you know, as I say, this is something, but when you do something, that's when it makes a difference.
so can I address Alicia's question?
Oh, you want to do the question?
Yeah.
I think you answered it a little bits at a time. I was trying to listen there, but
yeah. She says, so will I now work harder for the people that they claim to dispute from their business? You and I both have worked really hard all these years for people who don't have a voice. And so I think the word harder is an interesting word. I'm going to keep doing what we've been doing, but in different avenues or in different, I've not ever done anything with Newfields. I've been a patron. So for me, it might not necessarily be harder. It's just in a different area. So taking what we've done here in Mars Hill, and that was the other thing, you know, when the other designer and I were talking, and she said, you know, doesn't that go against everything that you've been fighting for in your community? And I'm thinking about how my community doesn't have access to that museum. And I think about all of the surrounding communities around the museum who, you know, when they made the changes to charge a ticket fee and all that kind of thing, and they've excluded so many people. And I know of so many museums across the country that have always been and will always be free because art should be for the people. And I truly believe that. So yes, I'll work harder and I'll work in other areas of Indy that maybe I'm not working in right now. So.
Yeah. And, you know, I go to Newfields when I go to the Hinkle ride. I ride from Mars Hill up to Hinkle Fieldhouse and we do a bike ride. So I cut through the parking lot. That's about as close as I've been to the Newfields inside. But I used to see the, if you, on the intro, they showed the love sculpture, or I don't know what you call that. The letters. I mean, it's just basically 4 letters that they put in a different different order, but it's pretty cool. And they moved that to inside. And that's been my extent of going there to the art museum. So I'm going to have to go now.
Well, they have so many really amazing things. I mean, a lot of people have criticized them for the Winter Lights exhibit and things like that, but it is really magical. I mean, to go and walk amongst the lights in the tree, I mean, it is just magical. But they need to make things like that accessible, not to just the rich white folk. You know, it needs to be accessible to people from Mars Hill or people from Hawville or, you know, name the neighborhood. We need to be taking kids on field trips to see this museum. And they do need to work on having more diverse artists on exhibit there as well. And so I want to touch on one thing that I forgot to mention too. When I was in the process of trying to make this decision, I did a lot of research. And I've been on a nonprofit board. I've chaired a nonprofit board. I've been an employee of a nonprofit. They need to think about the diversity on their board. They need to think about the diversity on their board of governors. I think they are doing that. But in the process of that weekend, I did so much research. And then I also recalled so many things from my years past in HR, and someone I used to work with had gone to work for them probably 10 years ago or so. She only lasted a couple of years because she said the environment was so toxic. So this is a long history of bad decisions, bad leadership, and it's going to take a long time for them to really make it right and get it turned around. And I pray they do, because our city really needs it.
Yeah, and I find that any organization, when they get to that point where they get complacent and they get sloppy, and bad things happen with that. You get somebody in charge or that's in the power, and it goes to their head a little bit, and the next thing you know, that just sort of filters on down through the system. And I know that's one of the issues you had at your past employment. It was that it just. I think anything that if your voice is not heard and you're not appreciated, it's time to go. I mean, and that's a lot of people vote with their feet anymore. So hopefully they'll be able to stem the tide and get things straightened around. And it sounds like I said, their statement's great, but let's look for the application.
Yeah, and we need to hold them accountable. So many people have said, "Oh, I'm going to cancel my membership. I'm cancel. We're in a culture of cancel culture right now. I don't think that's the right thing to do. And as an executive, one of my mantras was always, we have to give people the chance to get it right. We cannot continue to condemn them over and over and over again. And as leaders, how do we respond when our staff makes a mistake or when one of our employees makes an error? Do we call them out? Do we chastise them in front of a group of people? How do we handle that? We should handle it with grace, and we should give them a chance to fail, because then failing hopefully will help them improve in the future. And it's all in the way we handle that. And this was handled so poorly. I mean, the entire staff was telling them, this is wrong. This is so wrong. This is how this is going to be perceived. This is so wrong. And then, of course, they got called out in a big, big way, as they should have been.
One sentence was it.
One word. If they could have taken the word white out, and it would have been a totally different sentence. But it just was wrong.
It takes a spark to start a forest fire. So, well, like I said, this one sort of hit home. And so I would say to people, come on out and see this art in bloom. What's the dates again?
April 29th through May 2nd. And you do have to get tickets in advance. It is part of the general museum ticket fee. So there's no extra fee for the art in bloom, but there will be, close to 30 arrangements all throughout all different galleries in the museum. My hope is that they'll have some type of, document or piece of paper to pass out as you come into the museum. So you can go to all of those displays to see everyone's work. So come out and see it.
Yeah. And then, we could put a little plug in for the art center. We have the ceramic studio sort of open. We have Taekwondo. We have all sorts of things going on.
Also, I'm going to interrupt you. So in my conversation with them too, they are working with Newfields. They are working on some opportunities for programming with underserved communities in Indianapolis. And so that led to a conversation about the Mars Hill Art Center partnering with them to do some of those things. And so stay tuned as those conversations continue.
We just keep chipping away at it. Well, it's great having you on the show, and I guess I'll see you in like 5 minutes when you come home.
Yeah.
But next week we have Gary Varvel, the comic strip guy, on. I mean, he's a super artist. So I'm going to be nervous to talk to him, but no, he's a good guy. He's a conservative political cartoonist, I think would be safe to say. It's going to be fun. So in the live chat will be on. You can ask any kind of questions you want of Gary, and you can, see what we have going on. So 8:00 next Wednesday. Stay tuned. Thanks, Lisa, and peace out.